The desert didn't ease you into the day, it hit like a hammer. By 7 in the morning, the air already shimmered with heat, and the metal of the NATO sniper range could have fried an egg. Brass casings scattered across the sand gleamed like tiny mirrors under the merciless sun. That's where you'd always find Leah Carter, gray t-shirt, faded utility pants, steel-toed boots, and a canvas hat pulled low to block the glare. No rank, no name tape, no patches. Just a civilian contractor doing cleanup, sweeping the brass everyone else stepped over. She didn't talk much. She didn't need to. Her movements had a rhythm: kneel, pick, inspect, drop. The brass made a soft clink as it fell into her bucket, and somehow, amid the roar of rifles and shouted commands, that tiny sound still carried a strange calm. International Week brought out the noise, snipers from 6 NATO countries, all flexing their national pride. British precision, German calculation, American swagger. The air crackled with competition and ego. Leah drifted between lanes like smoke, careful never to cross a shooter's line of fire. She'd pause, study a casing, turn it over between gloved fingers like it was telling her a secret. Her bucket wasn't random, different calibers, different wear patterns, even tiny cracks got sorted like puzzle pieces. Most people just saw brass. Leah saw stories, pressure signs, firing pin imprints, extractor wear. 20 feet away, a group of younger soldiers set up their gear. One of them smirked as he caught sight of her. "Hey, think she's grading our shooting?" "Nah," another chuckled. "She's just happy to have steady work." Their laughter rolled across the range, but Leah didn't flinch. She'd heard worse from better men. Silence was her armor. Up on the observation platform, Master Sergeant Tom Reeves leaned on the railing, half-empty coffee cooling in his hand. He'd been running this range for 3 years and could read people faster than he could read wind. Contractors came and went, some lazy, some nosy, but this one moved differently. Every step, every reach, had purpose. Reeves couldn't explain it, but something about her screamed trained, not hired. Down below, Lane 5 was already loud. That was Corporal Mason Hale, the British hotshot with a rifle that looked like it had its own Instagram account. The man had swagger, the kind that filled a room, or in this case, a firing range. "All right, lads," he called out in that confident London drawl, "time to show you Yanks what precision really looks like. Been kissing steel at 2,500 meters since before you learned to tie your boots." Laughter rippled across the lanes. Hale loved the spotlight. Then his eyes landed on Leah, crouched near his position, quietly picking brass. Something about her calm bothered him, it stole his attention. "Careful there, love," he shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Don't strain that back of yours. Hate to see you break a sweat while we do the real work." A few of his buddies laughed. Others winced. That's how it went out here, you either earned respect or got ignored. Leah didn't even look up. Her hands kept working, fingers sorting brass with the patience of a monk. But Reeves, watching from above, noticed something Hale didn't: the way she timed her movements, the way she flowed through shooters without ever breaking their concentration. That wasn't just professionalism. That was awareness. Combat-level awareness. He couldn't shake the thought. Who was this woman? By noon, the desert had become a furnace. The air shimmered like liquid glass, the horizon warping with heat mirage. Wind flags hung limp, offering no mercy. On the firing line, rifles barked in rhythm, metal thunder rolling across the range. Corporal Mason Hale was in his element. He'd been putting on a show all morning, calling out distances like a sports commentator. 2,400 meters. Dead calm. "Watch and learn, gentlemen," he boomed, theatrically adjusting his custom-built L-15 rifle. He wasn't wrong, he was good. Confident. Maybe too confident. The first shot cracked through the air, echoing off the concrete barriers. Through the haze, the impact rang out, a clean hit, maybe 6 inches off center. Hale cycled his bolt like a man who expected applause. "Beautiful," he announced to anyone who'd listen. Textbook precision. A few of the NATO shooters clapped. Most didn't. They'd seen men like Hale before, talented, yes, but too loud for their own good. Leah didn't even glance up at first. But when she finally did, her eyes narrowed slightly, just enough to catch the angle of his bipod, the cant of his scope, the way his shoulder rolled under recoil. She saw something no one else did. From the observation deck, Master Sergeant Reeves noticed her pause. The way her expression shifted, subtle, analytical, told him she wasn't just admiring the shot. She was diagnosing it. She heard something in that rifle, he realized. Something off. The hours dragged into late afternoon. The temperature climbed. The targets moved farther. Now it was time for the big one, the shot that separated talkers from legends. 3,200 meters. A steel silhouette barely visible through the heat shimmer. Even the best snipers on base hesitated to take that challenge. But Hale? He was born for the crowd. Or at least he thought he was. This, boys, he announced, is where the wheat gets sorted from the chaff. He smiled at the silence that followed. No one wanted to jinx him. Leah was 40 feet away, crouched beside a crate, pretending to sort brass. In reality, her eyes were on Hale's rifle. The scope mount. The slight wobble in his barrel as he locked into position. She didn't say a word. Reeves stepped closer, curiosity burning in his chest. He knelt beside her. Everything all right down here? Leah didn't look up. Mostly. But your man's about to miss. Reeves frowned. What makes you say that? His mounts are walking, she murmured. Been loose for at least 50 rounds. He blinked. You can tell that from here? She finally looked up, meeting his gaze. You pick things up. The shot came a heartbeat later, sharp, proud, and certain. Then silence. No impact, called the range safety officer. Hale frowned, cycling his bolt. Must be the wind. But Reeves wasn't watching Hale. He was watching Leah, who only shook her head once, slow and sure. Hale took a second shot. Miss. The crowd began to shift, murmuring quietly. Reeves exhaled and made his decision. He walked over to Hale's lane, crouched beside the British sniper, and inspected the rifle. One glance at the scope mount told him everything he needed to know. A screw had been backing out under recoil stress, just as Leah said. There's your problem, Reeves muttered. Hale followed his finger, eyes widening. Bloody hell. How'd you? She saw it, Reeves said simply, tilting his head toward Leah. Every conversation on the range stopped. The quiet woman with the brass bucket was suddenly the only thing anyone was looking at. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The desert wind whispered through the range, carrying nothing but heat and disbelief. Corporal Mason Hale stared across the firing line at the quiet woman kneeling by her bucket of brass. She saw that from all the way over there, he muttered, half to himself. Reeves nodded. Before you even took the shot. A low murmur rippled through the group, half skepticism, half awe. Hale's jaw tightened. The showman in him couldn't walk away, not after a crowd like this. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and crossed the range toward Leah. Up close, she didn't look like much, sunburned, plain, sleeves rolled, hat pulled low. But her eyes were steady, sharp, assessing him like a gunsmith studies a misfire. I owe you one, Hale said finally. You saved me from looking like an idiot. Leah shrugged, still sorting brass. Just called what I saw. How'd you even see that? He pressed. You a gunsmith or something? She gave him that same maddening half-smile. Something like that. Reeves hid his grin. Hale wasn't used to being out of his depth. After a beat, Hale chuckled and lifted his rifle slightly. Tell you what, why don't you show us how it's done? Take a few shots. See if the old mount holds now that it's fixed. The crowd stirred. Heads turned. Someone whispered, "Is he serious?" Leah looked up at him. "You want me to shoot your rifle?" "Sure," he said, trying to sound casual, but everyone could hear the challenge under his tone. "Unless you're just good at talking." It was meant as a jab. Instead, it lit a quiet spark behind her eyes. She set the bucket down, brushed dust off her knees, and stood. "All right," she said simply. The entire range went still. Even the instructors stopped. Word spread fast, the contractor was taking the shot. Hale's bravado faded just a little as he handed her the rifle. "It's tuned tight," he warned. "Don't rush it." Leah took the weapon like it was something sacred. No fumbling, no questions, just a smooth, practiced inspection. Chamber clear, bolt smooth, scope clean, bipod steady. Her fingers moved like a mechanic who'd built the rifle herself. Reeves stepped forward, eyes wide. "You sure about this?" She knelt into the firing position, adjusting the rifle to her frame. "You said it's zeroed?" "Dead on," Hale replied, swallowing. "Target's at 3285 meters. Leah's eyes flicked toward the distant horizon, where the steel target shimmered in the heat. It was barely visible, just a sliver of gray against waves of distortion. "That one," she said quietly. Someone laughed under their breath. 3,000 meters? She's insane. Reeves crouched beside her with a spotting scope. The range had gone silent. Even the breeze seemed to pause. "Wind's light," he said softly. 2 to 3 miles per hour from left to right. "Got it," Leah murmured. She adjusted her elevation knob without looking at any chart. No range card. No calculator. Just instinct, and something deeper. Her breathing slowed. The rifle settled. Time seemed to stretch. Then, crack. The shot echoed like thunder. Reeves tracked the trace through his scope, the round cutting through mirage and distance. A long breath later, the steel plate rang, clear, clean, center mass. "Hit," Reeves said, voice low with awe. "Dead center." For a heartbeat, no one reacted. Then the realization hit, and the crowd erupted, shouts, whistles, stunned laughter. Hale's mouth hung open. But Leah wasn't done. She cycled the bolt, smooth as silk. Another round. Another breath. Another crack. Ping. Second hit, Reeves called, this time louder. Silence fell again. Everyone knew what was coming. Leah loaded one last round. Her breathing evened out, perfectly calm. The world narrowed to the sight picture, her heartbeat syncing with the trigger pull. Crack. The delay felt eternal. Then. Ping. 3 for 3, Reeves whispered. Jesus Christ. The range exploded with cheers. Even the instructors, hardened men who'd seen everything, were grinning, shaking their heads. Leah stood, cleared the rifle, and handed it back to Hale with quiet respect. "Your rifle's solid," she said. "Just needed a little tightening." Hale's voice came out barely above a whisper. "That wasn't the rifle, ma'am." Reeves watched her as she picked up her brass again, resuming her routine like nothing had happened. But the range had changed. Every eye followed her now. Every conversation dimmed when she passed. The woman who'd been invisible that morning had just rewritten what everyone thought was possible.